Vietnam today seems so far away, so long ago. 10 years, a decade, half a generation. It was that long ago that Vietnam and the war there so dominated the way we lived, the way we died. Bob Simon covered that war for CBS News and recently returned to Vietnam. Tonight he begins the first of a series of special reports in our continuing coverage of Vietnam Remembered.
The Vietnam War ended 10 years ago for the United States, not for the Vietnamese. They're still at war. In Cambodia, with China off and on, the Vietnamese are always at war, and they're very good at it, much better than they are at running a country. Even their officials admit that.
Now, in economy, it's a terrible mess. The West completely boycott, and all those economic embargo, so which means that we've got to stand by ourselves.
Vietnam is more isolated today than it was 10 or 15 years ago. Internationally, the Vietnamese were a lot more popular as victims of American aggression than as the aggressive regional power they've become. They've got the world's fourth largest army, a worthless currency, an infrastructure where nothing works except the people, and a fleet of 1950 Citroëns running roads today which used to be treacherous for tanks. But what's really striking to someone after 10 years is what's not here. A tree line with no helicopters. A day in Hue with no artillery. A street with no tanks. A road with no danger. It's another country. Some things haven't changed. There are still troops in Da Nang, which 1 million Americans once called home. It takes a while getting used to these soldiers here, and they're so friendly. On Da Nang's China Beach, where GIs came for rest and recreation, Vietnamese kids still stare at strange foreigners. These curiosities come from Prague. Da Nang is becoming quite the rage in the Soviet circuit. Entertainment? The bars and brothels are long gone. Instead, it's showtime, socialist style. A troupe from Hanoi celebrates the productive peasant, the choreography of country life. The North Vietnamese tried to collectivize all agriculture in the South. They've abandoned that now. It was a disaster. They tried to lure people away from the Catholic Church. That worked about as well as it has in Poland. This was Da Nang the night before Easter. Mass had to be held outdoors, there were so many people. Saigon moves a lot slower now. There's less hustle, less money, less noise. And this is Hanoi. The glorious decadence of the South is percolating up north. You can hear it steaming from the speakers. It was in cafes like this that Ho Chi Minh once plotted to overthrow the French, where now a new generation is beginning to whisper, enough already with the struggle and the sacrifice, let's have some fun. Money? Just watch the commissars of Hanoi at a lottery. These are the numbers that count. There is still a siren at noon. The metaphors are still military. Everyone is still vigilant and mobilized and drilling all the time, but they don't seem to mean it anymore. After all, they've already beaten the world's greatest power. There are no more epic wars to be won.
Even when we were being killed and wounded during the war, it was easier than running an economy.
That was a Viet Cong chieftain turned province chief. The leaders all know it. What they have to do now, start providing a decent life for the people who live here, is so much less dramatic than what they've already done. Less heroic, less historic, and much more complicated. Bob Simon, CBS News, Vietnam.
My name is David Griffin. I approve this commercial.